YouTube was fucking good. Honestly, I'll be real, I'm in like an emotional, like, explosion. Today I found out I got into my desired course, and as soon as I got in, I had to take like an hour or so to like process this, because if you've been keeping up with my channel, I gotta be honest, this was more than just an academic comeback. I had to fully transform who I was. This was not easy. This was not given to me. It all had to be earned. And I pray this, glory to God, because he was so graceful on me to let this happen. And I was just fortunate enough to have the opportunity to show God that I am worthy of achieving what I want. And that is something I cherish, take for granted. And I swear to not only God, but this channel, that I am not taking this for granted. So after the hour, I accepted my offer. If you don't believe me, I'll show you. Also follow my Instagram. I'm going to put it on my story anyway, at Steph_Littman. Just have a look. Yeah, man, this was awesome. This was amazing. I'm so proud of myself. And yeah, I'm lost for words. I don't know what to say. But I wanted to keep this message pretty short in this video because, look, there's so many things I've learned throughout this journey of getting into my desired course. So many. And if when I make the testimony video on it, I want to make like a full testimony video, because there was a point I wasn't even going to get into university, yet alone graduate high school, to have this opportunity I have now. And who knows, I might even gun for medicine. But let's not like get ahead of ourselves. You know, I still have a long way to go internally before I start saying big things like that. But seriously, let's talk about it, because there's so many things I've learned. But I don't know, for this reason, I feel like before I end today off, sorry if I look a bit scraggly or a bit tired, you know, this past week has just been it's like I had all this positive energy, but with great positive energy comes like great responsibility. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, I just need to like breathe and just be like, okay, one day at a time. Let's make the most of every day. Because right now I've been like overwhelmed in a good way, but like because I'm so overwhelmed, I'm trying to process that, and by processing it, I'm not actually like progressing, if that makes sense. Okay, so one of the things I learned, and I think this video can really help someone, is why you're not letting go. And a lot of people, like especially now, if you're ambitious nowadays, we like to attach ourselves to the past. And some of us, I've been there, use our circumstance or what happened to us in the past as an excuse. But what we fail to understand is these things that happened to us were never meant to break us. They were simply meant to forge us. And before you get offended, I understand. There are certain things in this world, there are certain things that I would say that happened to me that is just genuinely like, okay, God, that's a little bit too far. You know, I know they always talk about on social media like, oh, in order for good to happen, you need to suffer first. And I believe that's true, but sometimes I believe it can be pushed too far. Like some people can literally have like, you know, their families ripped away. I don't know, shit's going on in this world. It's a bit terrifying, and I'm not like saying this to like scare anyone. I'm just saying this to be real. But let's say you're like me. You've had some hard moments, okay, some really hard moments. I'll use an example. In high school, I was like severely bullied and whatnot, cyber bullied, you name it. And you know, that shit can be taken like arguably too far. But instead of, like, I feel like deep down when you know you're capable of doing amazing things, or when you have a bucket load of ambition inside of you, all of this energy stored up inside of you, the first thing you can do is not let what the external world is saying or making you feel affect you. Don't internalize it, because when you internalize it, you self-destruct. And I have stories where I have things that, you know, when you self-destruct, it can leave a permanent mark. Like, you know, I partially tore my bicep, did my hamstring in sports, you know, not pretty. And yes, I learned from my mistakes, but it came with a cost. So the first thing I want you to know is don't internalize it. It's important to understand, yes, the past shapes you into who you are, but another thing I really want to make very clear is in order for you to step into this next chapter of your life, reference the past with wisdom. You know, don't limit yourself saying, oh, well, this bad thing happened to me. Because that happened to me, I'm not allowed to get where I want to be. Or the reason I won't have that opportunity is because of that. You see, all you're doing is kind of like giving your attention to the past, and subconsciously you're setting yourself back. Because instead of focusing forwards, you're focusing backwards. And where attention goes, energy follows. So if you keep just looking back instead of looking in front and keep going, I'll ask you the question, which direction do you expect to go in your life? Do you expect to go forwards and progress to what you want? Or do you expect to go backwards and regress and go to where you hate, back to where you were? Because all you're doing is basically making you feel what you felt back when times are really shit. But even worse, because you keep replaying that loop. So if you're going to reference the past, reference it with wisdom. Don't limit yourself. That's just something I wanted to make very clear. And number 3, what would number 3 be? I haven't really thought about that. This is a very hot take, but I would say the harder things are for you, the more grateful and the more willing you are to make the most of the opportunities you have. Because look, I come from a very safe, opportunity-given country. You know, yes, I've just had some amazing news, and I'm very proud of that. But, you know, I can't say the same for other people. You know, there are people who didn't get into this course. There are people who are genuinely suffering, or maybe there's someone in the world experiencing what I experienced 3 months ago when I just failed my exam. You know, this shit is hard. But the best thing you can do is use this energy, all this energy that's making you feel all these negative things, and channel it to something productive. Because when you do that, that's when you start converting all this negative energy to positive energy. Instead of destroying yourself, put it somewhere and build and create and elevate yourself to progress further. I'm telling you, that's one of the biggest lessons I've learned. Anything that bad happens to you, it's going to evoke an emotion, and the best thing you can do with that emotion is channel it further. So whether it made you sad, use that sadness to respect yourself even more and put it forward. If it made you angry, breathe, allow it to feel, and focus that anger into the direction you want. If it made you anxiety, if it gave you anxiety, fear, or whatnot, breathe and just, again, channel it to something productive and build. You know, when you convert all of these things, these bad things you want to call it, that happen to you and turn them into something good, honestly, you know, you'll never really have a bad moment in your life, because all you're doing is training your brain how to handle situations a lot better. And I'll be honest, if I didn't experience the bad times I did, I would have never felt so hurt and defeated to go and say, nah, fuck this, I'm going to transform myself. I do think they're very important, and I do think they teach you a lot about yourself. So the worst thing you can do is limit yourself and say, ah man, this bad thing happened to me, I'm just going to accept it and not do anything about it. They're specifically designed by God in the universe to affect you in such a specific way to make you want to change for the better. And that is the best mindset you can have and the best way you can look at it. So anyway, I'm going to leave it at that. I'm going to go to bed. It is 11 o'clock. I have a big day tomorrow. I have a lot to get done. But I hope my story so far can inspire you. And I hope you can apply this advice to your own life. Again, I'm not perfect. I'm not trying to come across as perfect. I'm just trying to be real and authentic. But yeah, I really do hope this video helped you. And as always, my friend, my brother or sister, I will definitely see you in the next one. Peace out.